What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Dreams to Reality podcast. And today we've got a very, very special guest. And this person is somebody I really look up to. This is the first time I've actually met them, but somebody who I feel adds a huge amount of value and making an impact in their field. So with that said, I want to introduce you guys. Can't get my words out today.
That's right.
James Stark, what's going on, my man?
How you doing, Cameron? Yeah, it's good to meet you in person, pal. And thanks for the kind words that you've just said. It's nice to be thought of as an inspiration, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So let me tell you where I first kind of found out about you and what you do. So I live in Bristol. I think I had a meeting down at the harbour side in Bristol, and I was just walking through, and I'm quite big into my fitness, and at this point I was into, I don't know what you call it, but like muscle ups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I was walking past and I seen your gym. The first thing what caught my attention was your branding. That caught my attention, especially the yellow, and I really liked it. So now I remember looking in, and it looked like you kind of had some type of bar with protein stuff. But then when you also looked deeper into the place, you had rings. It just looked like a real cool gym, like a playground. For anybody who's into fitness, it looked like a fun playground. And I always remembered it. And then I literally came home, asked one of my friends who's got a big base in Bristol, asked about you guys. And when you see these type of gyms, you think they're going to be everywhere and they're kind of commercialized.
No.
But then when I looked into it, I seen you're the founder.
Yeah. So it's like, so basically, first of all, let's talk about Bristol. We're fellow Bristolians, which is number one.
Okay.
But where the yellow and black came from was actually my granddad started his business in 1952. Started with yellow colours, so I copied in the kind of yellow. He was successful, so I thought, let's go for it. Yellow's a strong colour. But in terms of the gym itself, my background is obviously personal training. I've been in the industry for a long time. I say a long time. I've been in it since 2011. So if you class that as a long time, it might be, but it's
not really
7-8 years.
So I don't know if I introduced it properly. So at this point, obviously you got a successful gym, 2 gyms essentially, and a very successful brand, nutrition company. You're 29.
I'm 29, yeah, 30 this year.
You're getting old.
Knocking on.
So you're 29, only 2019. So you said you just got into personal training. In 2011?
Yeah. So I off the back end, so a bit like a quick brief about my background is went on a rugby scholarship at Millfield School, left there, went to Exeter University.
That's a good school as well,
It's a good school. I went there just to play rugby, but ended up doing a bit of studying as well.
Okay.
And then managing to get the grades to what I needed to go to university. Again, I went to university mainly because of rugby. Went to Exeter, did a sport and exercise science degree. Ultimately, that's what normal rugby players want to go and study if they just want to interest in the rugby mainly. But I actually found that I had a really strong interest in sport and exercise science, and obviously training went hand in hand with rugby. So when I left uni, moved back to Bristol, started carried on playing semi-professionally, and then got more and more into my training, and that's kind of where the personal training thing developed from. So went in and enrolled onto your standard personal training courses. Actually, at that time, didn't learn that much on the courses. So found for me, I always knew that I didn't want to go down the commercial sector and work in big commercial gyms. I wanted to find...
Did you experience that?
No, I didn't even go into a commercial gym.
Oh, wow.
I knew what they were like because I've trained in them, but I didn't want to go and work in one. So I surrounded myself with some very good mentors, one being a guy from Bath called Tom Cressington from Body Development. He mentored me for a number of years and still does now. I see him as a great icon in the industry, a very knowledgeable guy who's been in the industry for about 20 plus years. And he taught me a lot, and basically wanted to start on my own, build my own business. So I was working basically between Bath at Tom's gym in Clifton in Bristol, and then between a home gym that I carefully built when my mum was away out of the house.
Wow, okay.
And changed one of the rooms into a small gym and started training, family members, friends, and started to build a client base at home.
Wow.
So I was on the road a lot. I was doing a big triangle between, in Somerset, which was a lot of driving, but it was good. That was my early years, is how I started.
In 2011?
So that was in 2011, and then progressed on. And then in 2015, that's the year I wanted to, I want to start my own place. So looked at a unit, which was the one you passed in the Harbourside in Bristol.
Before we get onto that,
Yeah.
because I feel like there's going to be a lot to talk about there. Growing up, have you always had an interest in fitness? Obviously, you said about the rugby side of things. Did you ever want to play professional rugby? Did you ever have to, obviously you already said you played semi-pro, so was there kind of like a conscious decision you needed to make? I'm going to try and make pro, or I got to start kind of thinking professionally about what I want to do with my life?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's no. I've always loved sports. I've always played team sport. I horse rode for 16 years.
Oh, wow.
I played football. As soon as I picked up a rugby ball, I gave up football and played rugby. And the dream was obviously to be a professional athlete and play rugby, and that's what I wanted to do. It was in Bristol's academy for a bit, and then, like I said, went to Millfield and then to university. But there's always a point when you grow up, you get to that age when you actually think, am I good enough to make it professional? Because would I already be doing it right now
That's
if
true.
that was the point? So that was the point when I was about to just turning sort of 25. I made the decision to concentrate on career as opposed to rugby, because I thought, I'm not professional now, probably not going to make it professional.
No.
So it was time to go career, and that's the route I went down. So that's when the personal training started to ramp up and up and up. And then, like I said to you earlier, I mentioned before we started here today, so in my early days of personal training, I had mentors, and I was doing a lot of reading up on different bits and bobs, and I thought, to grow my own profile, I need to get out there. So I went down the fitness modelling route. I've done modelling for men's health and men's fitness. And
so what stage was this? Say you took the transition 2011.
Yeah. Got myself in good shape.
Yeah, you said that you didn't really learn much on the course, and I think you never really learn much on a course. Like, I got a business degree,
Yeah.
but it's only when you go out of those kind of boundaries you
Yeah.
really start to learn and become an expert within your field, essentially. So you started in 2011. When did you start, say, pursuing modelling or TV or whatever? At what point? Was it straight away, or did you wait for a specific moment, or did it just come?
So what I did is, essentially when I got into personal training, number one was to get myself in as best shape as possible, because I knew if you want to be a fitness model, you need to be in as best nick as possible. Obviously, turning up to a shoot and being like out, taking off your t-shirt, and then all going, nah, not today. So that was number one.
Great point. Great point.
Hit me.
I don't know if you want me to say this. So looking at your pictures and stuff, I automatically look at you and can say that I don't believe you are on steroids. I don't
True.
think you are.
Yeah. No,
You
never
can
touch
tell.
them. Yeah.
When obviously I've been around many people, and you can see, especially with the fitness industry, it's heavily filled
Especially
with
in fitness modelling.
steroids. It's that topic.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you ever have, or from what I see, you've probably made a conscious decision not to do them.
Well, it's something
Why?
I've never, because of the, I guess, like the health, the issues with the health it can have. I've never felt the need. I've never been that body conscious that I thought I need to grow that big to take performance enhancing drugs. I was all about training hard, eating well, eating good nutrition, developing muscle tissue on that kind of what I call like a long-term way.
Yeah.
As opposed to the quick muscle gain. Bodybuilding's not really ever been my forte anyway. I've never enjoyed bodybuilding training that much. I've more been down like the kind of generic strength and conditioning route, which is my roots and how I trained when I was younger. And for rugby, I trained for performance as opposed to train for aesthetics.
Yeah.
So I'm not your classic fitness model kind of look.
And that's what I want to say, guys, especially if you didn't know who James was before this podcast, go and check his stuff out, because it's not just kind of gym work where you're benching and you're just doing the basic stuff you might see on YouTube and you see these massive bodybuilders doing. A lot of what he teaches, and from what I see, is kind of that all-round athleticism, which is good. So back to kind of the steroids bit a little bit, because it is a hot topic. If you wanted to get yourself in the best shape you could, I think you're kind of one in a kind for not going on something like steroids, because a lot of people, they do feel the pressure. They feel to keep up or to make a name in the fitness industry, I need to be absolutely massive. but you're kind of proof that you don't have to be, as long as you're happy with yourself and you just have that vision. So was it not really much of a thought? You was just like, I'm just gonna keep. I guess you got your own values and your own morals, haven't you?
Yeah. It was just something I like I said, it's down to your personal confidence and how you look at how you assess your body when you look at yourself. And I've never been, I like to be lean, but I've never been like I want to be the biggest in the gym or the strongest in the gym. I just like to move well, train well, have a good capacity in all different sides of training. And if I put on loads of muscle mass very quickly, it probably would stop me being able to go out and run 5k, 10k in the times I do, which is not overly fast, but I wouldn't be able to do that if I suddenly put on another stone of muscle.
Yeah.
So I like to be able to do a bit of everything, and that's how my training's based. So going back to like the fitness modeling, it was something I wanted to do to build my profile. And then off the back of it, ended up doing some of the celebrity fitness DVDs, which was that helped raise my profile a lot in terms of being sort of known in the industry in a small way, if that makes sense.
You look young as well.
I looked majorly young. So the first one I did was with another Bristolian girl, Josie Gibson.
Yeah, okay.
So at the time, she was hot off the Big Brother press. She just won the 2010, 2012. I think.
Do you think you can get her for the podcast?
I'll ask her, Josie. You've got to come in.
There you go.
Yeah. She's a cool girl, Josie, and I worked with her for a good 6 to 9 months. We did this amazing transformation. I wasn't initially going to be presenting the DVD, but the people from London, the production company, liked me and they said, "Actually, can you present?" And I was like, "Whoa, all right, I'll have a go."
If the money's right.
yeah, exactly. And then I had a go at presenting, and that's where like the initial kind of like I guess skill set to present come from. I remember doing my first audition when they'd already said they wanted me to do it, but they said, "You need to come down to London. We're going to film you doing a workout and presenting it to the camera." And I turned up to this like ballet studio, and there was like a panel of like 6 people sat there and the camera, and they just said, "Right, off you go." And I was like, "What? Just present to the camera or present to you?" And they were just like, "Whatever you want, just present." And I was like, wow. So I remember watching that video back and monotone. Wow. It was literally just like so basic, and I was like, I watched it back and I couldn't watch it. It was so cringing.
So what did you have to do? Just talk, or did you
had to
press ups and say, I'm doing press ups right now, come on.
Yeah, literally be motivational, talk about the safety aspects of the exercises, talk whilst doing the exercises, get up on your hands, the whole clapping, like bit of motivation kind of stuff. Pretend that I was training someone in the room. So yeah, it was pretty.
So was that kind of your first experience of public speaking in a way, apart from kind of one-on-one coaching?
Yeah.
Wow.
And at that point, I wasn't, social media. I was on Facebook, but even Instagram, I'd only just started to kind of go onto Instagram, and so that was my first, being on camera.
Talk about on the spot.
And the first DVD we did was 30 Seconds Slim. The guys at the gym still laugh about it now. They still take the piss out of me because of this kick I did on one of the adverts, and it was. And we
are going to, for the record, we are going to find that kick. And
definitely. But the 30 Second Slim DVD, which was what was the title of the DVD, sold over 250,000 copies. It was number 1 on Amazon, and it went off the chain. So then I got approached to do a second one with Josie, which I did, and that was with the production.
So how did you link up with Josie?
They because she was a Bristolian girl, the production company were basically researching trainers in Bristol to work with her. Because Josie, right? Excuse me, Josie, but because she's quite difficult to work with sometimes. One, they couldn't have a female; they needed to be a male. There needed to be a male to train her, and they needed someone that could basically take a hammer and because she gives it back. Okay. So and she sacked me 3 times during the 6 months and made up with me again. So it all kicked off.
So, but I'm more interested in how did you get found? How did they
actually found me through
you must have been doing something right, unless it was just complete luck.
So it was a bit of luck, and they talk about how things come around. I know people say it was down to the like the run of the green, and it was a little bit because they came across me on I was working in a gym at the time in Clifton, and they went on that website, and I was one of the personal trainers out of the 12 that were on the website.
Wow, okay.
And they chose me, interviewed me, and that interview was mad on its own. But then it started from there. Then did 2 with Josie, Did another one with some of the Made in Chelsea casts, and that was called MIC Fit. So worked with Spencer and Binky, and that was like another experience, completely different.
So was that something you enjoyed doing?
It was good fun.
I know Josie's your friend, but is it something you enjoy doing it, or was it just you had the vision and this was a stepping stone?
I had the vision. This was a stepping stone in terms of from seeing the business and how we work. I like the serious side of health and fitness, and the DVD side is probably the more fun side, but it's a way of getting people in their lounges or wherever they do these DVDs to actually get up and get moving, which is what we need to be doing with our society anyway, is get people moving more. And so it was a very different way, but like I'm a big believer in having skill sets in many different areas as possible, and learning as much as possible and just embracing it. So I took it on and had a go, and I did the right job, I think, and then that kind of helped boost the modelling side of things. Did 2 covers, one for Men's Fitness and one for Healthy for Men, which as a fitness model, your number one aspiration is to cover on a magazine. So
yeah, of course.
Which was cool. And then moving in, and then 2015, that's when the Cathedral Walk gym started to come around, and the idea, and so it was a busy period, and I was running around. I was a lot on the road and in and out of London a lot. Yeah. So it was busy.
So I've got loads of questions.
Hit me.
If I hit you, I might hurt you.
No, don't. Yeah.
There's a lot of different mindset things you say, and I picked up on straight away, which I'll dive in to probably a little bit later, because I want to just get your story out the way, and I've got some real kind of questions around motivation, mindset, even fitness, what I feel many people will be able to benefit from. But you've done the celebrity DVDs, you've done some modelling, magazines, you've done all of this different stuff. Did you always want to have a gym, your own gym? And back then, when you had nothing, did it look in your head how it looks now?
No. So basically, I think if any personal trainer says is not their goal to have their own gym at some stage of their career. I'm
not even a personal trainer, I want my own gym.
No, I think for any personal trainer, somewhere in their career, they'll say in their head that they want their own place. When you realise the amount of work involved, and at the time, my mentor was telling me, when you open your own place, it all changes, and it does change big time. So in terms of your self-learning, that kind of tails off because you're busy doing other stuff. In terms of your coaching time, that tails off because you're doing other business stuff. So I knew that I would take a hit on those areas, but I was willing to. I wanted my own place. In terms of the look, lucky enough, I knew the type of gym that I wanted, which was like a strength and conditioning based gym. As people now keep coming in and saying it looks like a CrossFit box, but really posh. It's not a CrossFit box, but it does look posh. Yeah. I wanted that kind of style gym, but I was lucky enough to go around the country, and I've got lots of friends that own gyms, go in and out, and I used to make notes and notes and notes on my phone about things I liked. And that would be down to details of design, down to the way the gyms were laid out, to the fixings and the brackets used to store things, to storage systems, so to everything. I used to make notes. So when I first came across Cathedral Walk, it was the first unit that I looked in for the gym. And you had the floor space; it was completely blank. I used to sit in there. You couldn't have really
thought of a more expensive place, really, could you? In Bristol?
No.
You just start in a shed in like the St. Paul's or something. Yeah. You just thought, I'm going harbour.
Lucky, I've got a business partner who's and he's a good guy, and he's got his own. Like, he lets me deal with operationally everything, but he had this idea of being boutique central town because of his experience with the business he was in. So we kind of put one and one together and made two, and that's where we ended up. In
incredible.
And it was a case of sitting in on Sundays just for hours, just staring at the space and thinking how this thing was going to work, and then coming together with a building company to put down the designs, and then doing the gym floor design and everything else. So it's kind of, but everything you see in both the gyms, down to layouts, it was pretty much what I put forward to the building companies that helped. But the finer details, they put their ideas in, and then you come up with what the final look is. The brand itself, I'm a massive fan of like minimalistic stuff. So I like minimal brands with look, and that's why like just the SF or how you've seen on social.
But it's strong.
Yeah. Well, the colours.
So you say minimal, but there's something not minimal about it, if that makes sense. It's very, I think, I don't know what's the word. It's congruent.
Yeah.
Everything's in line. From even the people you employ, the personal trainers, that side of things, it's all congruent. And that's one thing, obviously, bringing on Apprentice to do all our filming and stuff. That's one thing we wanted, was on our social media, we wanted everything to look at the same standard, all at a good level, and everything branded. And when I go onto your fitness, your gym pages, your fitness, your nutrition pages, and even your page, everything is the same, congruent, which I think's amazing.
Yeah, that is one of those ones that you'll look back. I know, because you said you were at the kind of near the start of your journey of your DR2 and stuff. You'll look back in 2 years' time at stuff you're doing now and think, wow, because things improve all the time. But as long as you keep that kind of consistency with your base brand, then that's where it shines through. That's what I found anyway. The brand identities work. You know, I had an agency that helped me, but we went in with ideas. We want to keep it simple. Obviously, you need professionals in their industry then to pull something together, give you some ideas. And then we went down the route of just staying simple, SF, boom, done. And that's kind of, at the minute, you see more of the SF than you actually do the Starks Fitness. And that's what we want it. We want people to recognise that,
So, 2015, one night you was led in your bed thinking about, what am I going to do? I want to start a gym. I want to have a gym. What was the first step? Did you have a lot of support? Did a lot of people tell you? You already said that there's having your own gyms. A lot of people say how hard it is. Did people try and put you off? Did families support you? What type of vibe did you have, or was it just tunnel vision?
No, I listen to people. So I'm not tunnel vision. I'll always listen to people, what they say around me. Whether I take note of it or not, that's up to me at the time.
Okay.
But support-wise, you just talked about support. My family and themselves, I couldn't fault their support ever. They support 100%. Wow. Even when you got the bad times, the good times, whatever it is, they're behind me, which is number one. Because if your family there, then you feel like you're doing the right thing, even if sometimes it's not.
Yeah, that's true.
The other thing is, like I said, you mentioned I've got a business partner. We talk, we chat a lot, we put our own honest opinions, big time. Because although it just helps you think like the risk is being spread slightly, as opposed, because you've got two brains working. Our skill sets are very different, so I think if you are a young person looking to start your own thing and you want a business partner, I think looking for someone potentially that hasn't got the same skill sets as you is a strong thing, because otherwise you will end up battering like heads basically about ideas. So I think someone who can bring in something different to the table to what you do. But yeah, support, good family definitely, and that's from all aspects in terms of. I've had to financially ask them to help me out, because sometimes it's difficult going to the bank and getting loans.
Of course.
Thing. And you do put your, excuse my language, but you do put your balls on the line big time. And people that choose to do their own thing is not an easy thing. It looks sometimes all bright and sparkly and glamorous on the outside, but it's not always. And a lot of the time it's not at all. So yeah, you do have to put yourself out big time.
And that's it's funny you say that, because you asked me how long have I been doing what I've been doing for, and it's been unofficially, as I said, 5 or 6 years, from when I couldn't even talk in front of a crowd. Now I talk to 100,000 people a year, if not more, probably this year now. And when you say it all seems glamorous, I remember 4 years ago, I was living in a freezing cold flat in Bristol. At this point, literally, I never went to the doctors to kind of get the help I probably needed at the time. But I was on the way, at this point, I was on the way out. I had no money. I didn't have anyone around me. No. And I just wasn't in a good place. But the next day I go and talk in the school.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fake it till you make it in a way. But how does that kind of work? Everybody thought I was okay because I was putting on a fake smile for everyone else. But at this point, the business wasn't doing what it was supposed to be doing. And it was just this kind of big persona. And it's funny that when I actually dropped that persona and started talking more from the heart and being real, like, I'm struggling, I went through this, I went through that, people start to relate to you a lot more, I think.
It's a process, isn't it? It's a process. When you're growing a business or doing it can be any personal goals. Even if not business goals, it could be, something you want to achieve in your life. It might be an event that you want to go. There's a process, and you're going to have the ups and downs of everything. So when you get to that event or whatever the climax is and it all happens, obviously it looks glamorous, and you cross the line, or whatever happens. But then the process itself, there's been ups and downs through the whole thing, and there's been tears, there's been like the sleepless nights, the nights when you can't go to sleep at all because all you're doing is churning things in your mind. Is it kind
of like anxiety in a way? Have you experienced a little bit of that?
Yeah, a little bit. I'm not an anxious person. I'm a relaxed guy. Yeah. But you do get anxious at points, which I think is a different kind of anxiety to kind of the whole kind of feeling sweaty and that kind of thing. It's more that you can't switch off at all, and you think constantly. But yeah, I think, it's definitely support is number one.
So back to the tunnel vision thing. Yeah. You said you don't necessarily have tunnel vision. You have essentially an open mind enough to listen to what everyone is telling you. Whether you apply that as a different situation. Yeah. But why is that mentality important? Because you've got so many people who are ignorant. They won't listen to anyone. No. They kind of hit their chest. They think they're the king or queen of the jungle. And that ultimately will become their downfall.
Well, I think that kind of mentality shines through straight away from when I started being a personal trainer, because obviously that there's so many different training concepts, there's so many different nutrition ways or ways you can apply nutrition to people. If you've got tunnel vision, you only do one thing and you say this is the only way, it's my way or the highway, you shut the door to a lot of things.
It's a fixed mindset.
Yeah, and it's the wrong way to go. So if people poo-poo other people's ideologies and research and say that's not right, they're being tunnel vision with things.
I went through that stage.
Yeah, I think if you can be open-minded, you listen to people, so when I was starting out with being a personal trainer, you listen to what different people's research has to say, you apply different principles, you take on as much information as possible, and then you find formulations that works for you and how your personality works, what gets results for my clients, and what kind of pushes things forward. How
many people in the fitness industry, especially personal trainers, really do that though? Because I don't think they do.
No,
I think that I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I hear many personal trainers talk about it, but these personal trainers are the best.
Yeah.
Like you. So on the, say, ground level in a commercial gym, how many personal trainers are really taking their craft serious? Or maybe how much of it's there for the money, or because it was somewhat at that point. To get in is the easy way to get in, but then it's saying how can you maintain it, but not only maintain it, but become that go-to guy, not only in your gym, but maybe in your business, your job. Does that make sense?
So the one thing, what stands out when you're saying that is passion. Okay. Because if you've got a passion in what you're doing, you'll want to learn, you want to get better at it. What's happening is the fitness industry is such a fast-growing industry, and they put a stamp on a personal trainer being able to earn 40 grand a year, and people go, wow, right, I'll go and do the personal training course, which is going to cost me 3,000 or 4,000 quid. I'll do it in 6 weeks. They've gone from not knowing anything about the gym to suddenly being qualified, and they think that for 40 grand a year is in reach. Whereas really, you've got to dog it out, you've got to do the slog, you've got to learn, you've got to adapt, you've got to progress, you've got to be able to win clients, you've got to be able to sell yourself to people, you've got to get results, which is what speaks volumes. So it's down to passion, and if you haven't got that drive and passion to actually be better, that's when you'll probably stop taking in all these other bits and bobs, and you'll just stay on your same road.
Wow.
And you'll just kind of dog it out and just do the same thing over and over again, which on itself gets boring, repetitive, as you know, and it will just kind of it just won't work, essentially.
Somebody said a quote to me the other day. We believe we can achieve a lot more in 1 year than we actually can, but we don't believe we can achieve as much in 10 years than we actually can.
Mm-hmm.
So what I mean by that, in 1 year we always got this great idea of what we're going to achieve in 1 year, but it never really works out just how we want it to. No. But then when you look back on your life in a 10-year period, you think, wow, I've done so much.
Yeah. Well, in a minute when we go on to talk about opening the second gym in my 2018 year, which was mental itself, but on that is, basically I had ideas. Well, I've got now things in my business that are going on that I want to be 12 months down the line to see where it is. I want to be there already, but I know that it's not going to happen there. I don't want to miss that time.
No.
But you want to see it. So it's kind of still taking your time, doing all the foundations right, doing all the other bits right, being consistent and keeping a high level service of all the other aspects, and then building towards where you want to see. But sometimes you get excited, and and like SF Nutrition itself. I was just talking to you earlier. We'll talk about it a bit more in a minute. We've just done a rebrand, and I'm excited to see where we are at the end of 2019 already. And we've only just.
Do you need any models?
Yeah, we could do some actually. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's. So yeah, it's. I think sometimes you can set big goals for in a year, and sometimes you want to get there and see if you've done it or not. But really, I think in 12 months. A lot of things can change, and especially in my industry, and I think it's the same with any, is you need to be dynamic. So if things change, you've got to change with it, otherwise you get left behind. So I think if you get set in ways and just kind of carry on doing your thing, which is still good, potentially good quality, and something changes and there's a shift, you need to be dynamic or adapt to make sure that you've still got your kind of your ethos and your morals correct and it's there, but you're kind of moving around with what everything else is as well.
So 2015, you've committed to starting a gym. What's the first step? You've got your business partner, everything. You found your location.
Yep.
You've got your branding.
I remember my first day.
How'd you go from getting your... Yeah, go on, carry on.
I remember the first day. So the first thing I did is thought, well, I've got this gym, which is kitted out beautifully. All this lovely equipment. But the next thing is we need people in it. Otherwise, you're going to get people walking past. Is obviously like a
just
shop
like
front.
me.
Is a retail unit, so people can see in. Obviously, it's private enough for people to train. But
did you have to get a lot of permission for
that? You do. You go through the change of usage, everything else, like you would if depending on what the unit is kind of made up to be at the time.
Yeah.
So we had to go through a change of usage with the council. But this, again, these things I've been learning about the paperwork of doing all that kind of stuff as well. So I at the time I'd already at that point in 2015 had two people that I'd kind of taken on to work with me, I guess. A young lad called Tom and a girl called Lydia, and I was helping them out as much as I could and helping them with clients if I could as well. And you're right there. and so I basically situated them straight in the gym, and then surrounded myself with a couple of other trainers that at the time had good client bases. They came straight in, and straight away we had a team of 5 people, and they all had clients. So it was kind of the starting point. So there was people coming in, there was people training, but it was at like 10% capacity.
Wow.
Not even that, probably less.
But with your gym, it's different. It's not a commercial gym.
No.
What is your gym? Why is your gym? Why should I join your gym? Essentially, what does your gym offer different? Yeah.
So when we started Starks Fitness at Harbourside, the idea was to be the first personal training only gym in Bristol. So we were a gym set up. People come in and they wanted to just pay a membership and come in and train. Can't do that. Sorry, that's not what we do here. We just do personal training.
You talked about bad times.
Yeah.
Have you ever considered that?
Yeah, we considered it, but we did other things that were kind of like a step towards being like an open gym, but not, if that made sense.
Okay.
And that's kind of where the Temple Key model kind of ended up coming from, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, you consider things, but then you go back and you go, no, I'm sticking to my guns. And my dad very often said to me, no, you're doing the right thing, stick to it, it will build, keep quality high, it will shine through, people will come in the end, and that's what happened. So, you kind of go through, again, it's a process, going back to that process you go through, you think, should I be changing things? There's always that plan B that you have, which you could fall back onto, which would be like completely changing the model that you've sort of started. But to go to that plan B would take a lot to kind of make me go, right, actually, screw this, we're moving to plan B.
So when did things starting to pick up for you and you started to think, we're onto something here?
Well, so by the end of the first year, I would say we had a team of at least, I think we had 10 coaches that were within the gym. So we were running it as a model where the trainers were self-employed.
So they pay you.
They paid a rent for the space, and basically, they wore uniforms, so they were part of the brand. and basically we generated leads and inquiries. Number one was obviously having a good website, so I spent out on getting a good website, which looked again smart on brand and was what we call slick. People could get around it. So we generated leads. They obviously had their own client bases, their own social medias, and their own websites. And then they basically amalgamated into the gym. They bring their own clients in. We give them clients as well. And basically that's
so
how we built.
Two ways.
Yeah, and because it was a small space, that community that we sort of mentioned before we started this built very quickly. So there used to be a lot of banter between all the trainers in there. Clients would know each other. They would chat.
Did that come natural though? Because people are people.
Yeah.
Or did it? Some people won't have the same standards you have. They might have different values. They might not appreciate the brand the same way you appreciate it.
Yeah.
So was it hard finding the people who match your brand, or did you get lucky again?
It was. I think I had a lot of inquiries of trainers and coaches that wanted to come and work at the gym, but we were limited for space. So we had a lot of people that wanted to come, and we were limited. So luckily, the number one thing I did is obviously people ultimately send you your CVs and everything else, but I always just met the person. That was the number one thing.
Do you have a CV, by the way?
No. I think I've got one of those ones I wrote at school when I was like, a bit younger, but no, I haven't. And I always would sit with them, and that would be the first thing I'd do. I would sit, it'd be a relaxed conversation, and I would check out their personality, because I think, I'm not saying I'm some amazing person reader or personality.
No.
But you could very quickly get the gist of someone, and whether I thought they were being approachable. To be a personal trainer, you need to be approachable. If you're not approachable, you're going to struggle.
I go to a commercial gym now.
Yeah.
And the personal trainers in there.
Not approachable. No. So they're not going to build a business.
They wouldn't even say good morning to you.
No, exactly. So, and then the other thing was, exactly. Come to us. That was that's the number one reason. And the other thing was is the willing to learn. So again, I'm always learning. I'm continuously learning. You talked about an expert earlier. I don't put myself in the expert bracket in the industry, because I think to be an expert in the industry, I've got to be doing way more self-learning, on a daily basis.
I don't think you will ever see yourself as an expert.
But I see people that I do aspire to think are experts, and I still check out their stuff. I still read up on bits when I can. But no, I wanted people that were in our gym that potentially were either less knowledge than me, more knowledge than me, but people that were willing to either share the knowledge or learn. So if you're in that learning environment, educational environment, it thrives itself. So our PTs, we used to sit down on a weekly basis. We used to have an internal staff education program where my mentor came across. He taught all the staff together. So we had a staff training session every week.
Need a motivational speaker, let me know.
Yeah. So it brought our levels of coaching up to a standard as well, where I wanted the business to be, because we were continually doing internal work. But also we had some great personalities in the gym. You got big personalities, it brings out the personalities in your members and your clients, and then it became that bubbly place where people used to come in. Obviously, you're going to ultimately get your quieter coaches and your quieter members that don't want to say and feel too much, but they feel that they're in a positive environment, So and that's what it was all about. It was creating a place where, so going back to why you would join us if it was the service you wanted, in terms of if you were looking for a personal training service and that's what you wanted to do, we would be the place for that, because we could offer professional coaching, we could offer a great environment, a great gym with great equipment, and the community aspect, and you were going to get results, and that was the reasons. So it was different, and it was everyone in there had their own journey, was at a different start place, had their own results, and basically bounced off each other basically. So that's kind of how it grew.
What I like about you are keep talking about learning, about reading, about seeing what other people are doing, and you have really became a student of the game. And I know I keep going back to it, but not only just for you and just your team in general, that basically means to me that you don't have so much of an ego, if that makes sense, or too much pride to learn from other people, work and have communication. From where fitness industry, there's a big stigma around where everybody's against everybody, and it's a big kind of egotistical industry.
Big time, yeah.
Have you ever how does it come natural, or is it just something you just know? Once again, you know the end vision, and you just know what you need to do to get there, and that means consistent learning and consistent growing.
Yeah, big time. Like we wanted to create a space where there wasn't egos, because gyms are a big place for egos. So in our Harbourside site, there was minimal mirrors. We didn't put many mirrors in the gym. For one of the reasons is guys especially tense up in the mirrors. You walk past, you have a little tricep flex or something like that. Never done. And we wanted to basically, we wanted to reduce how much that was happening, and also, we not, without being stereotypical, we didn't want women coming in and feeling like they were seeing themselves in the mirror, or seeing guys that were kept tensing up in the mirror, so they felt uncomfortable. And we want to be open to a full market of general population people.
So what is your typical client?
So our typical client, mate, people ask what our typical client is all the time. We've had as young as 4 years old training up to 84. So it's a wide client base, but
different careers, different situations,
all different backgrounds, all different incomes, all different, all from everywhere.
So when that happens, do you try and pick the best coach for that person?
Exactly. So
something what they're specialised in, and you say, okay, I think they would fit perfect with, say, Brian.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think this person will work best with Jenny.
Yeah.
And
we used to send out questionnaires, which were short. So if people were interested, number one, we'd send them out a questionnaire, which would be quite short. They fill it out. We get a bit of a feel for their personality from the questionnaire, and we would set them up with someone who we thought they would suit with from a goal point of view, who was going to do the best job with them to get results, but also potentially who was going to suit them with age, gender, their past experience of training, that kind of stuff. And that's how it kind of built from there.
Biggest lesson you learned in the first year of business?
Biggest lesson? That's a big question.
That's the biggest lesson.
I know. Biggest lesson, I think, would be be consistent with the level of output as a business you were given. So,
and what was your output?
So you're having a bad day, you don't let that shine through ever. So if you walk in the gym, especially the gym is meant to be a positive, motivational place. Everyone has a bad day. Everyone's tired sometimes. Everyone goes out on the lash and can't get up in the morning, whatever it is. But whenever you step foot in the door, you put on a brave face if you're not feeling great, and you get on with it, and you be motivational. You don't have a bad day, and you just that was the biggest thing, because it shines through in the quality of the service. I think that was being provided. But I mean, I think if I thought about it a bit more, there'd be tens of things that I learned in my first year. I think, when budgets are tight, not just kind of spending money on things that you didn't need. It was being more spending money.
Did that happen? So you got a pot of money and you think, I'm going to get this, and this, and this. Yeah. But then all of a sudden,
you got this thing, quick. You think you buy all these things, you got this vision in your head that it's all going to happen like this, and then you realise it doesn't. So it's kind of like nearly like a waste of money, whatever it was at that point. So it was spending money on the necessities. It was spending money on things that were going to.
That's your ego talking again, isn't it? Thinking, I need this, I need that.
Yeah,
and then actually, it's what do you really need?
What do you really need? Yeah. So it was things that were going to generate income for the gym. So how do you produce new business, get new clients in? How do you retain clients that are already here?
Number one.
So how the retention, new business. And like I said, the quality. That's the thing my dad kept coming to me, keep the quality high. And that was what comes through in our family business.
What does your dad do?
So we got a family business, which is a completely different industry.
So quite business orientated.
Yeah, it's going back to my granddad, which I spoke about earlier, being the yellow colours. He started in 1952 and is still going now.
Wow.
Is a heavy plant, earth moving business. So
What's
big.
It called?
Kelson Sparks Group. Do you know them? Small world then, is it? Yeah, so that's my granddad, yeah. So hang on, so here's the link.
Who's your dad?
So Sparks and Stark. So my mum's maiden name is Sparks and my dad's is Stark. So when they married, it got all confusing. But yeah, my dad's Rob.
Wow.
Yeah. So Rob Stark, he calls himself Game of Thrones, for those of you who watch it, yeah. And then you get the whole Iron Man and everything else. My dad loves all that sort of stuff.
They've got a beautiful place where it is as well.
Yeah, so that's kind of where the business kind of side come from. And my dad's worked in the family business for years.
Shut up!
And that was going back to another thing. So when I left school, that was the expectation of all my friends. They thought you're going to go straight into the family business, and that's that. And then they were all shocked when I was like, I'm not doing it, I'm doing my own thing. And that was because I remember having a conversation with my grandpa and saying to him when he wasn't very well, And I said to him, he was desperate for me to go in the family business. I was like, Grant, I love it. I love the industry, and it's something I might do later on in life.
And they
but
took it well?
I want to do my own thing. Ish.
Sure.
He did. Yeah.
But they supported you.
Yeah, he did. But he was desperate for me to go into the family business. But when I had the conversation, said no, doing my own thing. He understood, and he just gave me some tips on how to get going. And then I heard his story about how he first borrowed money to get going, and it was a crazy story. And then that's what gave me the oomph to get going in 2015. Yeah, so yeah, it's mad. So you know Kelson Sparks Group then, obviously.
Yeah.
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 Oh, we'll go into that another time.
How'd
you know?
My dad got a hydraulic engineering company.
Okay,
And
right.
I don't know if he still does, but he used to do all the hydraulics for him.
Yeah, cool.
And at that point, similar to you, but I'm not going into much detail about my dad. But yeah, obviously I didn't want to do what he did.
Yeah.
At one point I tried it, and I remember going up to Kelson Sparks.
Yeah.
And going up to like the workshop manager, and absolutely, I was like 17 at the time, absolutely pooing myself, and he just ripped me.
Yeah.
Literally just ripped me, and I think my dad sent me there knowing exactly that I was going to get ripped.
Yeah.
Because you know what, it's like the old heads in the industry.
Exactly,
They know exactly what.
I did the same as you. So I worked, all through my younger years. I always had the work ethic because my parents made me do my summer job. So I was always working in summer, to earn my own money.
And I was Sparks is something else.
And I was working in the family business and
him.
doing all sorts of jobs and getting stuck out on site doing the dog work sometimes. And my dad going, "Yeah, you'll really enjoy that job." I went out there and it was like one of the most monotonous, boring jobs or whatever it was. But it was ways that you kind of experience that, the whole industry. Yeah, and that's another driver for me. So you kind of see it from all the way through from when I was younger. It was the work ethic installed to now I work a lot of hours. My wife, she'll tell you that, and I mean is
fair play to you though to do your own thing. It takes a lot of courage, especially when, as you said, you could have easily fallen into that business, but you decided not to. You decided to kind of create your own story, and I think that says a lot.
At the same time, I got a younger brother who's called Kelston, named after my granddad, and I knew he was always going into the family business, and I respect that he's done that, because that was another reason for me to think, look, I've got a younger brother that's going to do it, so I can actually go and do my own thing. If I didn't, I probably would have thought, actually, if we're going to continue the family business in the blood, it's something that I probably need to do. But I knew he was going in, so it's kind of like, so someone's going to be taking it on, And like I said, it might be years to come. I think actually, I want to go back in and do some work for. But
So, 2018.
Yeah, so
it's a big year for you.
So wind it back to 2016 was just when the SF Nutrition launched.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
So SF Nutrition is our supplement nutrition range. So it was something that, from a business point of view, we thought, right, another income stream. So that's the reason for why in the business. We started generating enough profit in the first gym that we could invest in and reinvest into starting the SF Nutrition range. And then I had ideas around that I wanted good quality supplementation that cut away all of the nasty stuff that you see in a lot of the stuff. And that's why you'll see all over our brand, it's got 100% natural written everywhere. And that's because we focused on making sure that the ingredients and the formulations are made up of natural ingredients. So there's no artificials, there's no rubbish in there. So it's good quality stuff. It's more expensive potentially than some of the big main bulk, protein brands and stuff. But I think this year, I didn't necessarily think it in 2016 as much, but now people are really searching for quality over the quantity because of all the health and fitness things that are in the news, all these health, all the health epidemics. I think people are really starting to invest into their health more than they did 2 years ago. So in another 2 years, it's going to be different again. So we went through the same process again. So brand establishment, I wanted to keep it minimal. I wanted good quality product.
But was it well, I guess a lot of research needs to go in.
It was a lot of research. We found a company that we could work with to formulise the products and do all the tasting, and then we had to do all the packaging and just take a label for instance, to make it legal, about the prints, what's got to be on there, what's not got to be on there. It was a whole new ball game of me to learn about that as well. And then obviously we could sell just in the gym, but we wanted to go online. So then, okay, I need to learn about e-commerce as well. So I need to set up an online shop. I need to learn about tracking inventory, fulfilling, customer service, keeping the website updated, how to push the website out there to get into to win new business. So that was a whole new ball game again. So I had to learn about e-commerce systems and how to set one up and how to manage it and everything else. So that was the next thing. So
Wow.
so the gym in the background was doing well and was building.
The bread and butter. And
I was still coaching a lot, so I was still doing a lot of my own personal training. Because that
Why?
was my own that's my own income. So still to this day,
Yeah.
I've not taken a salary from the business.
Wow.
So my income is still for my personal training. I'm still looking at the bigger picture. So it does sometimes grate you a little bit. You think, well, I'm paying a few people's salaries. I'm not even paying myself yet. But it's the bigger picture. So
people don't. It's hard.
yeah, that's why the whole goes back to the bells and whistles. Yeah, it is. And behind the scenes. It goes back to being the support and everything else. And luckily, I can still do my own personal bits and bobs because of my personal training, and also my wife. And she works hard as well. So between us, that's why we can still do the holidays that we want and do the things.
Think of the bigger picture. Definitely think of the bigger picture.
So SF, that's where SF Nutrition came from, and that's again probably a whole different podcast to talk about that and how that started. But and then 3 years in, 2018. We sat down one day reviewing our year of Starks Fitness, coming to the end of, I guess, we're about 2.5 years in, and thought, well, let's expand. And that's where we started then looking for the Temple Key location.
Is there a right time though?
Not really. I think there's not a right time, because you can have a strong business, or you can have a business that's getting stronger, but it comes down to, I think, you obviously need to go through the numbers. Is another chunk of investment. There's a lot more to put in. So you've got to be able, again, to have the backing to invest into a new gym setup. And you've got to be able to think, well, can we manage 2 gyms with the infrastructure we got at this point? We didn't have anyone employed in the business because our trainers were all self-employed. Yeah. So, I was running most of it with my business partner, doing some of the things behind the scenes, as it was to say. So the search started, and it took a year from the day that we started looking for the Temple Key location, which was at the start of 2017. It took a year to basically just secure the unit, and that was because where we are is a prime location next to Temple Mead Station in a big business district, and the landlords want a gym in there, which the brand's got to be on point. It's got to have the right level of service. You've got professional people down there, and is at the front doors of a huge firm above, PwC, which are a worldwide accountancy firm, and we're basically their front door. So they wanted a gym in there which was going to do the job and make people in the area.
So it was kind of set up to succeed in a way, or was that that makes it sound easy, but in theory,
in theory,
that was the idea. But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Why not just settle? Why not you've got a successful gym in the Harbourside, you've got your nutrition company starting to pop off, doing well, you're into it, everything's going well, you could start taking a salary from it and, going...
It goes back to that vision. Like, I've got vision of being in more than one city, and that's what it goes down to. And to be in more than one city, you've got to grow, and you've got to establish yourself strong enough before.
Imagine where you'd be when you're 40 years old.
Probably looking a lot older than this.
At least you still have more hair than I will. Anyway, I'll be bald in 40.
That's why I wore a cap to keep away the bald spot at the back. So no, I mean, I didn't want to settle. I wanted to grow, and we outgrew the facility at the Harbourside, and I think some of the guys that were working there.
So it wasn't a big.
It's not a big space. It's a boutique, small personal training space. When I say small, it's still.
It's not small, but it's not.
We outgrew it. Yeah. We had enough. We had enough personal trainers there and enough members that the space got busy. So it was like, right, if the space is busy, let's replicate it on a bigger model. So where the sort of the model that we run at Temple Key, which is different to the personal training model, come from is personal training, as you know, generally in Bristol costs £45 an hour, depending on where you go, who you see, that kind of thing, on an average. And to get people actually seeing results, they need to be training a minimum 3 times a week. So you can start to do the numbers and it gets expensive unless people have got the motivation to go and do your programming that you set in the gym and just have the one session a week with you, whatever it is. But if people don't have that motivation and need to train with the personal trainer, you've got a very, very small, catchment of people that can afford to pay big money on personal training, especially long term if they want to sustain it. You don't want a client just for a month. You want someone who's going to stay there for a few. Someone who's going to work with you.
Very true.
So the obvious was I had started already grouping people, and some of the other coaches had as well, into small groups, what we called semi-private personal training. So the cost was
cheaper for them.
Bigger,
you still get paid
more for the hour for us, so hourly rate was better. More people to handle, so more work behind the scenes.
That's what you call a win-win, my friend.
Yeah. So there was more work behind the scenes because you got more people to look after, more nutrition plans, your training plans to write, but you're getting a highly hourly rate for the work you were doing. And that's where the model of Temple Key came from, and the second gym, and we based it around small group training, and so we had to find a space big enough that would handle that. And space is paramount. And even now, if someone said to me, "Would you want the extra 1,000 square foot?" 100%, because you could always grow into the space, But obviously at the time you're in an expensive area, you're in an expensive building, and you've got to look at the numbers, and then you start doing number crunching. You need a lot of members very quickly. And going back to what you're saying, it was being in this professional area, we were going to open up with a high quality product, which was more expensive than the standard gyms. I wrongly thought that we maybe have people queuing at the door ready to come in because they thought great looking gym, great branding, great equipment, great products, people queuing at the door. Didn't happen. Wow. We ultimately had people that were interested, but we've spent the last 8 months working out
Interest don't put money in your pocket, though, does it?
We had to work how we get people through, do their first session, and see the value in what we were doing. Wow. And then people buy into the product. And doing that first stepping stone, like we still get people now that walk into the Harbourside, it's been open for over 3 years, and literally say, I've been walking past this gym for 3 years, and today I've made the effort to come in because it's my time now that I want to change. And they've taken 3 years to come in, and they've walked past it every day if they walk into the shop or something. And the gym's a funny place in terms of mentality, and people.
It's a big step, man.
Yeah, and people don't people got this vision of what the gym's like and what it should be like, and that's why we've tried to create a space where I want to call it the third space for people. So you've got work and home life, first and second space. Third space is where they spend the next amount of time, which is in our facility. Hence why we've got an amazing training space. We've got the cafe area, fitness bar. People can drink coffee, they can eat food, they can chill, they can chat. So they can spend time there, and they can communicate, they can chat to other members. And that's what we've created at Temple Key.
Once again,
there's a gym in London called Third Space, and they've done something similar. And
stop calling out other gyms.
Yeah, sorry,
they need to pay for that. They need to pay for that promotion.
Yeah, that's fine. So the small group, the training concept kind of derived. There's other people that are doing it well in the country. I spoke to them, asked for some help and advice. They very kindly helped me out. So I sent them a bottle of wine and a few bits like that. And I had this idea of there's lots of training concepts now in the UK and worldwide which are doing very well, franchises that are growing rapidly, but they offer very, very tunnel visioned kind of concept. So I train
at a Snap Fitness.
Yeah. So take Snap Fitness away because Snap Fitness and some of the other like kind of 24-hour gyms, they do what they say on the tin. You pay a low fee, you go in, the equipment's there, you train on your own. But I'm talking about class-based model gyms, which
I got you.
You're talking about these
is
boot
that
camps.
Growing?
Yeah, the class-based model is growing rapidly. It starts in London, generally, because that's where everything starts in the UK, and it grows. It comes over from the Oz, it comes over from America. And these class-based models start, but the class-based model generally, if you look across the basis of what they offer, is variations of high intensity interval training, and that's pretty much it. So it might be variations of that. It might be whereas boxing, spin, it might be circuit training, whatever it is, but it's variations of HIIT training. Okay, if you just do HIIT training, you're not going to progress as an individual. You'll get initial results. You'll see because your energy output's increased. You'll get those initial results, but you're not going to see the next progression. You're not going to build that much strength.
Just starting in anything, you're going to see some type of results.
Exactly. But you're not going to build strength. You're not going to necessarily build mobility. You're not going to move better. You're not going to be educated on the training that you're doing and everything else. But you're also not going to get the support potentially, depending on what they do. You're not going to get the support on the main aspects, which is our 4 pillars that we look at as training, nutrition, recovery and lifestyle. So you won't get the support of the other 3. You'll get the training and you'll just get the HIIT training, but you won't get the help with the nutrition, which is a massive key. When people say 70% in the kitchen, 30% in the gym, yeah, that's pretty true, that kind of thing. The recovery methods, people actually nowadays,
people don't talk about the recovery.
No, but when I talk about recovery, I don't just mean like sitting in a cold bath or whatever. I'm talking about my mentor talks about a lot about yin and yang. So the yin being the chilled outside. You talk about yin and yang. You talk about yangs being very like on the go. Your adrenals are running. Everything's fast paced. That's how our society now live. Everything's rapid. Like I got here, I was late because I was rushing around. There was pallets of SF nutrition arriving, and you're just on the go. But that's how the majority of the people are now. Especially, everyone's running around. They're rushing.
Oh, we
all the
were
time.
late getting here as well. So
exactly. So
when you said you're 10 minutes late,
bosh.
Yes.
Yeah. So people are late and they're rushing around, and really, they need to be doing more what I call recovery and yin work. So they need to be doing the chilled outside. So whether it be meditation, yoga, whether it be mindfulness
what about
stuff.
Just about
Sleep, massive, but people aren't educated on what they can be doing to sleep better. So there's all these things. So we talk about that, and that then crosses over into the lifestyle stuff. And we're at the minute putting together these big corporate packages that we want to be pushing out middle of this year, which cover all these areas. So it takes corporate health and well-being and wellness to a whole new level, and that's what our next thing that we're working on, as well as the SF Academy, as well as the secret escapes that we want to run. So there's all these other things going on. So there's a lot of clogs turning at the moment.
That's amazing.
And it's having that yin side is important, and that's where it comes down to the education support. So going back to these class-based models just being HIIT training, really there's the HIIT training. If you look at our team training, for instance, which is our classes essentially, HIIT training is one of our current 13 classes that we have on offer.
I see you do all like handstand stuff.
So that would be another class that we run called calisthenics, which is huge in the industry. So it's a skill-based class looking at different skills. But
can we come along and do some filming and do one of the?
Yeah, come down and do a caddy class. Yeah,
because I always want to do a handstand.
Yeah. It doesn't just happen like that.
No, but I've got a daughter at home, and she's 5, and she just boshes it out.
They do, like kids learn quick. Yeah,
when I think about it though, she's constantly doing handstands.
Yeah.
And I read like a quote somewhere about it, and they said as far as doing handstands, it's like how much time do you spend on your hands a day, essentially. So how are you going to expect to...
Exactly, yeah. Well, we stand on our feet. We can use our feet well, but we can't necessarily maybe use our hands as well when we try and stand on our hands, because we don't stand on our hands that often.
Right, so I want to get off business a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we smashed it. I think unbelievable. And we're still going to go into it now with the mindset questions I got, because of course you're going to refer back to your experience and stuff like that. But talk about sport. You said when you was in the gym, you never really you weren't focused on being the strongest. You wasn't focused on being essentially the one in the best shape. So what that tells me is you focus very much on yourself, and you didn't care about what other people were doing. So you were very much, you just paid attention to yourself, which I think is right, where everybody else is constantly comparing themselves to other people. He looks amazing. She lifts this, or that guy can do 100 pull-ups. I don't know, whatever it is. We're in a world where people are constantly comparing themselves to others. Did you ever experience that? Do you experience that as a coach? Because I think it's okay having competition and saying, okay, like James can do a handstand and do this and that. I look up to James, so I want to learn how to do it. So I could use that as a motivational thought. But then other people don't see it as a positive. A lot of people can see it as a negative, and they can hate.
Sure.
So be like, oh, it's easy for James to go to the gym and do handstands and have abs because he owns a gym.
So that's so going back to concentrating on myself. So as soon as I gave up playing rugby, I've never really had a goal in my training, which sounds really bad because all we do with our members is set goals. But I've never really had a goal. I just enjoy training. I enjoy experiencing as many different concepts.
Maintenance is a goal, surely.
Yeah, maintenance is a goal, but that is probably my goal. In fact, Tommy, the general manager at one of my gyms, calls me Mr. Maintenance.
You just haven't changed in 6 years.
Yeah, but that's down to me. Like I'm not worried about having a goal. I enjoy.
But you know you probably can. If you wanted to step up and put on muscle mass, you know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah. So I'm actually just going to start doing some more performance-based training. So I never program myself because I don't like writing my own programs. So one of the guys at the gym.
So you're a bit of a hypocrite, is that what you're saying? So like you got a brand around.
No, so I'm talking about my So I got one of the guys at the gym. He's gonna write me a program. I'll follow it for I think it's a 21-week program. I'll do it, and then I'll probably move on to something else. But
how did your ego not get involved in that program? Be like, oh, Tom, that shouldn't be in there. What a waste of time.
No, he's a good guy. He's way more highly qualified than me, and he knows what he's talking about, and. He's a good boy as well. He's got a rugby background because he's worked with international teams with the Welsh and the Scottish. So I that's where I take my interest. So I've given him my next 20 weeks and said, right, your program is what I'm doing.
That's cool, yeah.
And it's performance based. It's about my next 20 weeks is going to be about trying to improve my strength. I still do my running. I've just signed up to a half marathon in Gothenburg in May. Which I've never ran before. I never thought I'd bother running. And I thought, my cousin lives over there. He said to me, we're both 30. I'm 30 in April. He's 30 in May. Let's do the half marathon. So I was like, right, screw it. He's really good at running. Really good at running. So I'm going to have to up my running a bit because I've got a target in my head. So this is actually my first goal is I want to run the half. I'm going to state it now in an hour and 45 or less. And so that's probably the first goal in my training I've had for quite a long time. But going back to concentrate on myself and people going, well, like I want to do what he's doing, and other people saying I'm never going to be able to do that, and that turns people away, is why you've got to be able to show, I guess, the progressions to everything, because then people go, well, okay, I'm never going to be able to do a handstand, but I could probably see myself doing something like that. And then you slowly introduce them and they see progression in their training, and then they build and build and build. And with the general population, which is our kind of main market, we do coach professional athletes, some of our guys do, but our main market is general population people, is the image that we give out. So social media is the biggest thing that we drive business on at the moment. So we've made some changes of how our social media is pushed out. So there's things that we've stopped happening on social media, which would have put a lot of people off coming in our gym. For different reasons, just
ab pictures and stuff like
tops off pictures on our personal stuff. Like the coaches allow the coaches, they can post what they want on their own social medias, but we've basically banned.
So nobody can relate to that.
No, we've banned it in the gym. So people doing the tops off picture and tagging the gym is banned. We don't do it anymore, and it's because of different reasons. And we've had members' feedback, and people say like they don't like it. And there's more people that don't like it or can't relate to it than there is people that relate to it. And if it's not there, the small people that relate to it don't miss it anyway, because do you know what I mean? So it's just small changes, and it's listening to your members, and it's been a positive change for us, and it's been a positive change just generally for the business, and I think is. Like you said, so many people now comparing on social media. Social media, people spend way too long. Now you can go on Instagram and see how much time you spend on Instagram, which is sometimes a bit frightening.
It is. And every Sunday that message comes through.
Yeah, and I mean...
You're 10 hours above your average.
Yeah. And I think, we can sit there and, we can slate people. We can sit there and go, I wish I was like them. We can do whatever we want. But to me, it's just a waste of time. You get on with your own thing and just crack on.
That's amazing. But where did your hunger come from?
I don't know.
Because obviously you've had it at such a young age. So you went to school, but then you got a scholarship to, possibly one of the best rugby schools or sports schools in the UK.
Yeah.
And then you went to Exeter, you just keep constantly displaying hunger throughout and not settling. And what I talk about all the time is consistency wins every time.
Yeah.
And one thing what it looks like is that you have been consistent through the years. Is that the case? Have you ever had a down day, down week? Have you ever flunked? Have you ever thought, I can't be bothered, let's just go to Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, you ultimately, we talked about earlier, I said everyone has up and down days, and your personal life can affect your work life big time. So if you've got a highly stressed personal life for whatever reason, whether it be a partner you're with, whether it be something that's happening in your personal life or whatever it is, it can have an effect with your work. And that's why I talked about whatever was going on in the personal life was going to work with a happy face and making sure that stayed consistent in terms of level of service and the output, because that's what people see. And I've got some of my personal training clients I see now, I've been training for since day one, since 2011. And I've got a really good personal relationship with them. I go to some of their weddings, I've been to family events, that kind of personal relationship. They've seen my journey and
Your
change.
growth.
And what happens is very often they come back and they say to me, "You're doing a good job, keep going." And they're the ones that have seen it come from day one. So that little kind of comment from whoever it is, and they're usually quite bantery or whatever, and they turn around and say, "Seriously, what you're doing is a good job.
That's
keep it going."
amazing.
And it just motivates you. And that's what it comes down to.
100%.
And now the whole thing's changed. Like you say, what gives me drive now? The drive now is down to the business has grown, where you've got the livelihood of a lot of people that are relying on the business doing well, because that is their life. That's how they earn money. So as soon as that changes, you now not just got self-employed people, you're now employing people. That's their life. If the business didn't do well, they've still got to get paid. Otherwise, their personal life goes down the drain as well. So that's another pressure. Do you know what I mean? And it's something that makes you get out of bed every morning. But I go to bed generally with a smile on my face. Recently, I sold my car. I've always loved my cars.
What car did you
have? I had a Sirocco, a really nice Sirocco, an R-Line. I had a personalised plate, all that kind of stuff, because that was my kind of another passion. I like cars.
Yeah.
I love driving. And I had to sell my car. And that was for a number of reasons. One, because I wanted to invest that money into the business. And cut my own personal expense, because I wasn't taking a salary as such. And then there was a couple of other small reasons as well. My wife, she's got a car. We decided that we didn't need one, so we made the decision to get rid of mine. She does need a car. So now I've become a cyclist, man. So I drove it today, obviously, because it was too far to cycle. But I
Do you
cycle.
have the clips?
I don't have the clips. I've had a road bike. I went down that road for a bit, realised that time-wise I didn't have enough time to go out and do road cycling properly. I did like it, but I've got a hybrid bike. I don't have the clips. I've got a nice helmet. I've got the Grandad mud guards. And, and I'm one of those people that, cycles through town and you sat at traffic lights and you're probably pissing off the traffic and getting in the way a bit.
Right, so I got questions.
Go for it.
From on Instagram. Who inspired you to be you?
I talked about him before, but definitely down to my granddad.
Do you reckon your granddad will come on the podcast?
He's not around anymore, mate. Otherwise, he would love to be. Yeah, but he's not been around for a few years. But he was a big inspiration for
my nan was a massive for me. She was different. She was just a cleaner as far as that. But she didn't have a lot, but her love she displayed for her grandkids was second to none.
And it was him, and it was the way he inspired the whole family. And that's it. And it's not just him, but like I said, support, inspiration from the family to push me and drive, and that's number one, I think.
So that's amazing that he's still seeing that you made the jump to do it now.
That was one of my last conversations with him. It was that I'm doing my own thing to start with, and he supported it. So
okay, so how do you deal with feeling isolated? They said, especially at school, but let's just talk about isolation. You've built an unbelievable community, and by the sounds of it, you've got great mentors, you've got people around you. So have you ever felt isolated, or have you made sure that if you ever went down that path, you've basically gone and talked to somebody?
To be honest, I think I'm probably lucky enough not to have ever kind of felt like that, isolated. Again,
is it lucky though, or is that a conscious decision where you've actually said to yourself, "I'm just going to go"? I think
it's a mentality for one, but it's also because it goes back to family, great support, but also friends. I've got a great group of friends which I class as my close mates. My close mates I can count, my closest mates that I could go and call at any time I can count on one hand. And it's about you speak to them and they support you through the ups and downs. And so I've never really felt properly isolated, I don't think, but I'm a person. My wife says differently, but I do enjoy my own space. don't get that much of it. So I do enjoy
Of
sitting
course.
down on the sofa and watching Netflix all day and not having anything to do. I do enjoy that kind of time. So I think a lot of things you talk about luck. You get brought into the world with the support of a family, however they are, and I think I'm lucky to have a very supportive family. And I think some people don't necessarily have the support that I did, so I don't take it for granted at all. And I work my ass off to make sure I give back what they've given, if that makes sense. So.
Perfect. What is your top tips for growing a fitness business? What is your top tips for growing a fitness business?
I think you have a vision and you stay true to the vision. So we talked about before, kind of, I guess, being consistent. So I think you need to have what you visualize. You have like you have your ethos, and you stick to it. You stick to your guns. And there's going to be ups and downs, but as long as you keep that happy face, keep that consistency, it will come through and shine in the end. And that's what we're starting to see now at Temple Key. Is initially the first few months when we opened was hard work, and it was convincing people that we were the right facility to come and train, and you build a community, and people were associating us with our average member. Spends a lot of money compared to your normal gym, but because they get a level of service for what they're spending, and they get the location, they get the facility, they get the equipment, but they also get the community, but they get the service, and that's what it's about. So staying true to what you're doing, it will come through.
I ask every guest this: if you could sit down with 3 people, dead or alive, what 3 people would it be? Well, I guess it'd be 2 now because you sat down with me, so that's 1. But what 3 people would it be?
Denzel Washington. I love him.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Denzel he's one of my favorite actors.
Oh, he's incredible.
He's a cool guy. So yeah, I think he would be one of my main ones.
I watched an interview recently. There's a hip hop artist called Nipsey Hussle. And he said he went to a Lakers game when he was about 8 years old, and Denzel Washington was sat on the front basically, and he went down and he wanted an interview, and the security guard said go away, and Denzel, apparently his wife tapped him and said that kid, and he's like, hey, stop, like come over, come for a picture, not interview, sorry, signature and stuff like that. And he said he always remembered it, and now obviously he's a big celebrity himself, and he was at a game the other day, sat next to Denzel Washington, and he said he had the same conversation. And what that comes down to, why I share that, is it's just integrity, being a good person all round. Like Denzel didn't have to necessarily do that, but it just shows his character and being humble despite all of your success, I think.
Yeah, definitely. That's 100. You've nailed it on the head there. So it's. He's an inspiration in his own way. He's an actor, which is nothing I do at all. But it's
apart from when
I do my 50, I'm a kick. Yeah.
Number 2.
I would love to sit down with the Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay, cool.
And I'd love to sit. I love the film for one, but I read a bit about his story, and I follow his stuff that he does now in his work, and. He's a guy that just flipped things on their head big time, and what I call went full out. I like any of the people that any of my friends will know that I got this. I guess because I'm this health and fitness person, people don't think I do all the mental stuff as well.
Of course,
and I love to party. Got married in Ibiza. I go to Ibiza most years, and I love partying. And it's a different side which. 90%.
You're 29. Come on.
Yeah, but 90% of the year, you do your thing, and then that 10%.
You're 29.
My parents know that I love going out. When I start drinking, it usually ends pretty badly. But no, I like to party, and I think sitting down with him from a business point of view, but also.
Sales
also just from that life he had as well would be quite cool to discuss that with him and find out some more details on the stories that
thirdly,
and I think thirdly would probably be one of my sporting icons, so like Johnny Wilkinson.
Wow.
So he
My goal is to get his kicking coach on. A guy called Pressure, but I forgot what it's called. Pressure Principle, I think.
Yeah.
Dave Alfred. He does a lot of stuff around that, and he's incredible book. You want to check it out.
Well, he's like people say, you're always going to say he's going to be some like typical big sporting icon, but I think when you see him being interviewed, similarly to there's some other big stars who are big kind of celebrities, I guess. Johnny Wilkinson always seemed to come across very modest and very like, no ego, just kind of. He did it, and he just did his thing. He practiced hard, he trained hard, and did his thing, and he was consistent when he played. Big tackler, great kicker, and that again is like his business. That's how he earned money. And I think he'd be another guy that I would like to sit down and see how he planned his weeks out, how he set goals and everything else. So it relates back to business again, but also he built
mindset. It's everyday stuff. It's not just
time.
Business, everyday stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, James, we're gonna have to wrap this up.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Maybe next time it'd be good if we can come to your gym.
Yeah, 100%.
And maybe set this somewhat up in your gym.
Yeah.
And do a part 2. How's that
definitely,
sound?
100%. I'm up for it. Yeah, keen.
Yeah, definitely.
Really
Thank you.
I appreciate you letting me come on the show and chat. Anyway.
Appreciate you, man. So tell everyone quickly how they can find you on social media and stuff. We're gonna post up your links anyway.
Yeah, sure. So the website is starksfitness.co.uk. My personal Instagram is S74RKS. It's my private plate.
Okay.
And then Starks Fitness Gym is on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that. SF Nutrition again, Instagram and Facebook. sfnutrition.co.uk is the website, and then that's when you'll come across the academy side of things and stuff as well. But yeah, that's where you find me. That's where I spend a lot of time.
Okay, guys, so I want to wrap this up. I feel like we could have went on for double amount of time.
I think so as well.
Unbelievable. Thank you again for coming on. But make sure you do check out all the other podcasts we've done, and also give this one a big like, and also comment on the video what you thought, or if you have any other questions for a part 2. But most importantly, follow him on social media, follow me, and hit that big red button and subscribe. And with that said, I'll check you on the next podcast. Peace.